Choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
This is Joshua Demers Productions with Budgie Buddies J&K presenting Relocating RV Camper Propane Hot Water Heater and Stove Reconnection, Cost and Troubleshooting, with a few crazy side stories and some Budgie Buddies footage. Enjoy! Good morning, J&K. What are we going to create today? Well, we're going to do a video on my hot water heater movement before I go ahead and put in the potable water system that runs off of the pump and, you know, on its own. So what we're going to start with is, when I got this RV, the propane furnace was all the way up front and wasn't working too well. Or actually, I take that back, the one that came in here was no good. So we bought this $400 unit, and it was sitting in there, and it had a couple of little 90s and that you know, gray flex hose, I forget what it's called anyway, to connect it. It ran all the way down there. The old sink was sitting right there with the drain. It ran along here, and there's a furnace here, so the lines had to go run up over the furnace, back down, and the drain line just ran over it and over to here, and then eventually made its way to the floor and down into the clean out. Well, I said, you know, I don't even never hooked it up to propane. Was a little uncomfortable doing that. And you know, after I cleaned out the kitchen area and then the couch, there's this big, you know, big huge plumbing line running downhill along the wall. I said, why don't I just move everything over to here? So I did. I ended up putting a hot water heater down there and running me a little switch and connector over there for it. And as you can see, the sink's still there and the drains go right into there. So that worked out real good, actually. You turn on the hot water and even the showers, almost instant access to the hot water. Pretty cool. Well, since I've had to go off grid on the solar panels now, as noted earlier, turning that hot water heater on for 20 minutes, you know, really does take about a day's worth of low consumption to let the batteries top off. Then I turn the hot water heater on, providing the batteries are topped off, and then it takes, you know, a good day's worth of low consumption and sunlight to top them back off again from that for 20 minutes of hot water. And if I don't use that hot water within, you know, several hours of getting it going, especially with it sitting up under the sink, you know, uninsulated and everything, you know, it wouldn't last very long. So, you know, sometimes I had a couple of times where, you know, by the time I finally get caught up in the day and I go to use the hot water heater, because I can't use it at night, because then it'd leave me with, you know, pretty much dead batteries. So if I'm gonna turn this thing on, I gotta do it in the middle of the day for best results. So you see what I'm saying? It was so outrageous. So I said, all right, time to move it. So I went ahead and moved it over to here. But I just wanted to show you where it was, or where it started from, where it ended up, and then back to where it was. But unfortunately, all the old lines for the RV are outdated. You cannot find compatible parts for them anymore. So, you know, I had to do the best I could with the old parts, trying out some new parts, and just replacing it with upgraded modern house in between lines in between, and added some insulation. And you'll see all this stuff right here. That's actually an interesting story. After I got this thing moved a couple nights ago, or I should say I did this a couple weeks ago, but a couple nights ago, after many weeks of faithful service, I had woke up one night right after I put this in, finished wrapping this insulation, because it was getting real hot over here. Just this little part right here left uninsulated, and right here uninsulated, was getting so warm that I finally, after 2 weeks, realized that was a source of my big problems with overheating up in here. So I wrapped them up. Right after I wrapped them up, that night, somewhere in the middle of the night, it started. Yeah, that one's dry finally. Is it? You gotta finally get that one dry. I don't think it is. But I see a little wet on top here. Anyway, I'm having trouble, as you can see, with these fittings right in here. somehow it loosened up a little bit, and when I woke up in the middle of the night, all 45 gallons of my tank I just filled was all up in here. So it'll remind me to make sure I double check, turn off the pump switch at night when I leave, so I don't wake up to this catastrophe. Fortunately, since the floor is already rotted and running downhill, most of the water ended up out that direction on its own. But yeah, it's leaking a little bit, so yeah, I think I got the bottom one straightened out, but I think that top one's still seeping just a little tiny bit. I mean, at this point, it just runs down into here and runs outside anyway, but I don't want that at all leaping, so I'm gonna turn the water off later today, take out the anode rod and pop the levers to drain the tank out, and pull these off, wrap them up with Teflon again. But anyway, yeah, so I got them tightened up so they're at least usable at the moment. But hopefully when I get done, I'll be able to put the insulation back on there, and I'll build me a box around here and get it done. Now, let's watch how I got the hot water heater from up under there to back over here, or at least what was involved in the plumbing. All right, I just got my plumbing finished up for my hot water heater, and what I had to do is get a 1/2-inch threaded adapter, piece of PVC, and a male 3/4 inch to get some washing machine hoses with these 90s on them, because if I just stayed 1/2 inch, everything just stuck out, and I didn't like that. So I got in the hot and cold, did the same thing down there, and I decided to buy a bunch of insulation and run it all the way down. I bought 4-foot hoses. I put me another 3/4 to 1/2 inch adapter, 1/2 inch hose, all the way on down the wall. And then I come over here with a 1/2 inch female, and then a little nipple for the RV plumbing, some clamps, again with the insulation on the hot water. Come over here. Now these clamps I bought, they're the right diameter, but they're just too thin. They're kind of stripping out. I already busted 2 of them. Hopefully these are tight enough to get by until I get to the store and buy some bigger ones, but I gotta just straight up buy bigger ones. Anyway, so the insulation's here. Now the hot water heater's plumbed in. To do the furnace, well, again, they're kind of low on parts, so I bought what I could. I got copper tubing, 10 feet of it to come inside the RV from outside. Oh, I guess my bag of parts are over here. Okay, here we go. Huh. Where are the parts for my propane? Oh yeah, I already set them up. That's right. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is they only had, these were the hardest things to find. They only had 3 of these to go into the copper tubing and then to connect to here. Couldn't really find a splitter, and I was, it's getting expensive, so I said, hey, wait, the stove's got a splitter on it, so I'll use that. So what I'm gonna do is come in through the floor, up into here with the copper line, and then come out here, and I'll mount this up over here in the corner, and then run the line down and into the propane for now. And then later on, I'll come in and get a real splitter to go out to the furnace and give me an auxiliary for an oven or a smaller or another small heater. But anyway, yeah, they only had 3 of these, so I couldn't get a splitter, the right type of splitter, and I couldn't get, I couldn't get enough connectors. So anyway, but I got 3 of them. I got one, and one, so I can get this done. Anyway, coming in, I've got, where'd I put it? The propane hose. Anyway, so copper line needs to connect to that. So basically, it's just an extension cord with a splitter, or extension line. Well, the problem is they don't have a straight one. So I went with a 90, which is going to probably work out better, but it doesn't fit. None of them fit, so I had to spend another, and that's $10 each. So that's $40 I've spent on these. Then I just had to spend another $6 or $7 for that there, so that this will screw into there. But there, I'm done. Let's go see if I can get the gas hooked up and see if anything leaks. Oh,
those things right there, like I said, you can see that you got the big clamps on there and they just push to the limits. And I think that top one or bottom one of them still just, I mean, once a day drips. And I think there's not much I can do with it. Oh, maybe it's not dripping anymore. Okay, I leave it alone. And I went ahead and just said, you know what? Instead of going with new nipples and everything, why don't I just go with some actual braided hoses with some 90 degrees on there. Do this up. Nice. Hi, J&K. What do we got going on today? Well, I moved the little birdie fan from up there to down there because it was blowing cooler in the evening, but I think it was actually blowing a little bit warmer up at the ceiling. And took this fan here and made me a little cable to suspend it and tilt it and move it, and got it pointed up right at the birds a little better, because the last 2 days have been real hot and the fans just needed some readjusting. These things here are going pretty reasonable, except that little squeaky bearing came back this couple last days. I cranked that sucker all the way up, let it run for a few minutes full speed, and put a little WD-40 in there. That doesn't seem to fix it, but running that thing at full speed fixed it up anyway. Again, real hot, having to scrape by every little bit of extra cooling I can do. Well, there's one unexpected item right there. Despite it already being insulated and tossing a little bit of foam insulation and a sheet of wood and putting some stuff around it and insulating the hoses coming off of it, it was still putting off a lot of heat right off of here. Just not really too bad up here, to be honest with you. They actually did do a decent job of that, but man, a lot of heat was coming off of here and right off of this hose right here, and same with right here, a little bit of heat coming off in the first portion of this hose, the cold water range, just from radiant heat. And I only had this thing just sitting here and you know, running to the ends of the hoses. So I cut it off, made some little 90s, put a bunch of chunk it up until it tightened up, got no more air gaps, wrapped it up in tape and zip ties. Same with down there for first portion. It also gives me a little bit of a softer area to absorb impact and everything till I do what I'm about to do to, cause you know, this fixes a lot. Actually, this fixes a lot. Wow, this is a lot different than it was this morning. But anyway, it was building up heat here, and what I'm planning on doing is I got a bunch of actual fiberglass insulation outside in that I was donated to me a while back, and I got some crazy looking you know, wide cabinetry that I got from my dad, leftover custom cabinetry. And I think what I'm gonna do is set it up sideways this way and over here, make a little shelf at it, cut out the bottom if it's too wide to fit up in there going sideways, and fill this part in with insulation, take the shelf that goes inside of it and use it as another sidewall, and just fill in over here, use that somehow up in there as a divider, and make a shelf out of it, a little door, and then I'll have insulation, a shelf, and some storage on it. And like I said, just cram insulation all around it and see if it gets any cooler. But again, honestly, wow, that really makes a big difference. And I don't know if it's just because the fan's running or if I really made a difference. I may not need to build that box around it, but I'm still going to. All right, well, I got something made out of nothing. I tell you what, I actually think I waited a little too long to pull this out, but it's better than nothing, you know what I'm saying, for free. Yeah, yeah, maybe I should have cleaned it out a little better before I installed it. But anyway, with that, the way I got this copper line running to the stove, I can't really flip this thing around, so this back wall is back there and I could just open it up and have access. But you know, and same with that wall where I can just have access. But you know, I realize and come in down through here to stack some stuff up in there if I want to use it for some storage. And that's actually don't look too terrible right there, especially if I clean it up, paint it. You'd never even know it was in shape. But the main thing is now I got a shelf next to my stove burner. Not bad for a 10-minute toss up. I will be honest, when I was bending this pipe right here a little bit, trying to get it out of the way so this would line up with this here, so I can screw this down to here. I somehow loosened that joint, and this thing was turned on and it started on fire way up in the corner down there, and I had to go shut the propane tank off and run back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, oops, and get the flame out and then tighten it back up and leak check it. But it's working again. Like I said, I don't have to build a box around here, because now that I put that insulation on here, I'm telling you, just there's no heat coming off of here like there was. I can't believe this much pipe on top and bottom, and you know, you see, and just a little bit of hose was creating all that heat. This is so much cooler and more manageable in here today. Amazing. All right, J&K, I think I'm done going outside for today. Come on out and play. Yay. Oh, real quick, next thing I'm gonna do is get me a little piece of sheet metal and put it in right here, so I ain't gotta worry about the heat messing with, getting up in there and messing with the wood. So let's do that. I'll be real with you. A half hour later, and it really is, it does not feel like a hot summer day today since I got this straightened out. For real, this was I mean, what a difference. Anyway, so now I got done with my little, you know, 10-minute mock-up here. Literally 2 screws, excuse me, holding it in. A little bit of support down there, but that's just paneling, so it ain't real solid. Nothing back there at all, because that wall's actually detached from the floor down in there and sunk down just a little bit, as you can see. So that's going to be another project to rebuild like I did over there in that corner. Anyway, got the piece of metal on there. How about that? A piece of metal that fit just right, although it had to be repurposed, because you can see I had tore it up and used it for something else. Anyway, I'm worried about the paint. Is this too close to the heat to do the paint? I guess there's one way to find out. And I'll just have to keep an eye on it. Oh, I gotta turn these to reverse. I need to do a better job mounting that socket. And then we'll slow down a little bit better. Oh, that's kind of a neat looking effect, huh? Ooh, now it's getting warm in here. There we go. Now it's exhausting. Anyway. No, that's not feeling too bad at all. Cool. That's going to be so much different having a little shelf right there. I scrubbed it down the best I could, but it's going to need a little bit of bleach and scrubbing. And man, it goes downhill back here. But I swear these corners are level, and it's just the whole thing, the way it's built. Like I said, this is a side wall to a sideways shelf. Or a shelf turned sideways. And I actually got the middle shelf to that. Like I said, maybe I'll put it here and make me a bigger shelf. I doubt it. Alright, now I think I can stop and cook. You know, and I want to interject that, you know, the other thing that finally putting this shelf in here is going to do, and coincidentally, just it wouldn't go down any further unless I cut it out, and I didn't want to mess with it. But actually, I kind of like having it higher. It's a little more normal. That's actually a little lower. So, anyway, having that shelf right there, what that's going to do is it's going to encourage me to keep this stuff cleared out and not keep stacking stuff up in here like I had been doing, and using it more like a kitchen And like I said, I want to put the TV over here, but with the stove right there, I worry it might be too close to TV if I don't get it moved close enough that way. And you know, then one day I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I enjoy life enough to make it so far. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you care to. Check out my other videos. And of course, as always, there is so much more to come. Isn't that right, JJ?